here's a shot of me putting the body back on the car. And I have to apologize. I didn't videotape this procedure. This is actually a reversed shot of when I took the body off. So the car body is back on the frame. Here you can see the two side rails, the new rails, and because of the hard template, still don't know which it is, pinned at both ends, this fit, and you can see it's on this side it's really close, and on this side we have a lot more distance. So I got this one, it's probably 1/8 of an inch there. Now on this side it's more centered. There's a 1/4 on this side and maybe 3/8 to a 1/2 on that side. And the greasy stuff you see is fluid film. One of the things I did here, I drilled 3/4 inch holes. There's another one down here somewhere. There it is here. Right there. And I sprayed fluid film up into them with the little straw on the end, and then also at the same time in the same hole I blasted it with compressed air, 110 psi with a nozzle, and that made a mist inside the tube that I hope coated the whole inside of the tube. The interesting thing is when I did that I saw a mist of oil come out of the other hole, so I feel pretty good about that, coating that for the next guy. So I just wanted to show part of the video from last time where I'm welding. I'm making a sliver, a spacer, because I cut the frame too much, cut too far, so I have to put the frame back. And one of the great things about working with steel, especially steel that is this thick, it's about 1/8 of an inch thick, is that you can take two pieces of steel and you can weld them back together, and now you have one piece of steel, and it's really, really strong. And now you see me do something that is kind of might seem unusual or counterintuitive, but I'm creating a groove or a bevel or even a gap between the pieces. And that seems counterintuitive because I'm trying to bring these two pieces together and create one piece of steel, and I'm creating a gap between them. Well, let's take a look at the steel. This is a couple of pieces of steel, and I want to bring them together like this. This is called a butt joint because I'm butting them against each other. And this would be a lap joint where I overlap them. I weld this side and then I weld that side, but mostly what I do in these repairs is I do a butt joint. And if you look at it this way, if I turn the two pieces to you so you're seeing it on edge, that's what I'm going to be drawing. One is like this and the other's like that, and I bring them together. And then you take your welder, could be any kind of welder, weld steel, MIG, TIG, oxyacetylene, and you take your weld and you weld it. You make a weld nugget there to bring the two together. And then you do something that I've seen a lot of people do, making furniture or doing other projects. You say, well, I want that flush. I want it to look smooth. So what you do is you grind that weld off like that. Well, you can see, if you look at this, let me zoom in a little bit, you can see that right here, a lot of the metal is not joined. You have effectively cut off the strength, or a lot of the strength of the piece by grinding it flat, by doing this. And that's probably fine for furniture, but probably not a good idea for the frame of a car, something that's going to be under high stress. So instead of that, what might be better, what is better, I think, is you want to create between these two pieces a bevel. Now what you are going to do is you're going to weld here, and it's going to do this. Then when you grind it smooth, because you want it to look smooth, you have what's called 100% penetration. Let me see if I can draw that. This is 100%. The previous way, where you welded and you ground off to make it smooth, now you might have 30% penetration or less. Another way to do this is to, instead of beveling it, sometimes it works just to leave a gap. And the nice thing about this is it can give you 100% penetration, but you don't have to spend the time, once again grinding the top off, you don't have to spend the time making the bevel. And I do this a lot. I'll bring two pieces together and yet I'll leave a gap. And here's some footage of me doing that in the back end of the chassis. Making a gap all around the piece so that I get this kind of weld once I've ground it, and not this kind of weld. There are a lot of really good welding channels. I recommend Welding Tips and Tricks. Jody at Welding Tips and Tricks. I think that's the name of his channel. He's a wonderful welder. He's so good. It's kind of like sitting next to Liberace when he plays the piano. You might not learn anything because he's so good. Everything is done with perfection. Sometimes he'll make a video where there are mistakes. For example, you hold the nozzle too far away, or you're using the wrong polarity, and those are actually really helpful. Here's another thing I discovered on this car is right here there's a temperature sensor, and there are two wires plugged into it. That temperature sensor did not work. And so I replaced it. I think it was $25, and it was used on an amazingly large number of cars from like 1965 to 1998 or 94 or something like that. And there's two wires. One lights a light up on the dash that says cold, and the other says hot. And the cold light came on immediately. That was great, and it goes out as the engine warms up. And then the hot light, I put a heat gun on this thing and heated it up. I think I got it up to about 250 degrees, and the light came on. I let it cool down. The light went out, the hot light. So it actually, that sensor is actually operating two lights on the dash. Now down here, this is the left front of the engine from the driver's point of view. This is the fuel pump. And this is the blue housing of the oil filter. And right between those two, right up there with that nut, that's the oil pressure sensor. And that was not in the car. There was a plug here and the wire had been taped up. I think that's kind of a bad idea, because you could drive quite a way down the road, lose oil pressure, ruin your engine. You're supposed to stop, pull over when the red oil light comes on, and that wasn't there. This was $3 from Rock Auto and $5 for shipping. Here's where it is in the car. Turn the key to first position. I got the radio set in the dash a little better. It was thrust back there, and I cut the plate so that this retro radio could be read. Before there was a bar right here. You really couldn't read the display very well. Here are those warning lights. There's a cold. Let me see if I can straighten this out. Wait a minute. Here are the warning lights. There's a cold alternator that come on when you turn the car on, and this is super important, the oil light. So these all come on, and they should go out when I start this beast. Let's see if I can get it to start. Cold light stays on. I guess it's there to tell you to wait to turn the heat on. If you were cold and you wanted to get some heat, probably be better to wait for the cold light to go out rather than turn the switch here and get the fan going and blow cold air all over yourself. These are the rubber bushings that go between the body and chassis. These are what's left over. And the full set is a little less than twice this much. And that full set cost $349. $349 for what appears to me to be just some rubber donuts. And I would have thought this would be about $100, maybe $150. So anyway, that's what these are. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to adjust the vacuum modulator on the transmission. See if I can show it to you. Let me get this out of the way. Back here, there it is right there, this gold thing. And I like to raise the shift points, but mainly I like to raise the engagement point. When you put the car into gear from park into drive, it seems to be really in drive, and it slows the engine way down, and I'd like to kind of ease that transition. I think, yeah, there it is. There's the end of that vacuum modulator, and if I can zoom in, there's a little screw, and I'm going to turn that a quarter turn and see what effect that has. Okay, I've got my long screwdriver here, long and skinny, and now I'm turning this about that much. And there's a little split right there. Doesn't go very far though. I'm thinking if I go right about there, I will have eliminated that split. Oh, went right on. Far Outsville. Okay, we'll do a road test and we'll try that. Other issues are we are leaking transmission fluid. You can see here's the pan. It seems to be most heavy on this side. I'm going to just snug these bolts up. They look like 7/16 and see that. And then when that fails, I'll go to the next thing. One thing I'm certain of is that they're not 10 millimeters. That was pretty loose. That was pretty loose. Loose. Really loose. Somewhat loose. Yeah, these all needed to be snugged up. And I'm just snugging them. You know, they don't need much. And I think if you tighten them up too much, they will distort the metal and then you really won't get a good seal. So this is all my theory. I'm certainly no expert in transmissions. But that might help. As Rain Man Ray would say, shiny. Just trying to clean it off. so that I can make an evaluation later to see if it's still leaking, which it probably will. Here's something, probably the last thing that I don't like about this car is that it has these Flowmaster mufflers, and they're loud. Yeah, they're Flowmaster, patented, and maybe somebody took something out of these to make them louder, but I'm guessing that these are just loud mufflers, and this is the way they're supposed to be. These seem to be a popular upgrade. A lot of people put them in their car. But I'm going to measure the pipes and see what it would take to put it back to factory sound levels, which are probably really quiet. I think Fords of this era are very quiet. I think some people refer to this as popcorn weld. It's different than a booger weld. A booger weld is lumpy. A popcorn weld seems to be even worse. I'd have trouble duplicating this with a MIG welder. I think we're looking at a flux core weld done by somebody who has the polarity reversed, or possibly they've got way too far a nozzle to work distance. But this is crazy, and I'm not sure how it's done. Let me know if you know how this is done. I know how to do a booger weld with a MIG gun, but this is different. These little, right here, these little popcorny things, it's kind of stunning, and then someone just keeps going instead of, solving the problem. So this will all get changed if I put new mufflers on.